Here it is. Some characters are going to be blocked by my camera, but that's all right. We'll be scrolling up and down, so it's fine. All right. Let me full screen this. I'll probably put it in presentation mode as well, just so it's easier to read and see. So there we have it. This comment says, and I'll just read it out loud, that way you guys don't have to read it on screen, but this is from Mac Attack 1. 450 subscribers. Shout out. He's starting, just starting. I don't want to roast anybody over their subscriber count, but let's see here. At Key Issues, honestly, there's too many things to leave in a reasonable length comment, but I'll name a few particularly sore ones. One, Dragon Warrior tier makes no sense. The logic that Jolling is above Hulk and Thor because Dragon scale to the 10 rings, which are Hulk/Thor level, doesn't track. Firstly, the dragon armor never tanked the full power of the rings. Some hit, sure, but not like the high-end attack / full power of them, like when they destroyed the Dweller. Also, the rings have no feats on Thor level. That was just some offhand remark made by the director. Directors have also said that Spider-Man is close to Hulk in strength, and that Hulk is on par with Thanos, but no one takes those statements at face value because they haven't shown it. Sorry, there was a little grammar issue there. I want to address the Dragon Warrior stuff first. Yeah. Because, well, let's address the director's statements first. First of all, the Russo brothers did say that Hulk and Thanos have the same strength, but as Chad very aptly explained, and I think explained it very well during the live stream, there is a difference between the application of said strength. Okay, Thanos uses specific martial arts techniques, boxing techniques, where he, twists his body, he uses his legs to get the full force out of his punch, whereas Hulk is just like a rage machine doing this and that, right? So they can be the same strength, but get different results based on the technique. And we already know that Thanos is one of the most skilled fighters in the verse, so that's a bad, criticism from your part, in my opinion, especially because we explain that in detail. Also, you're going to see this in the Spider-Man video that I have coming up, but Spider-Man literally is as strong as like early Thor in the MCU. He just had blatant feats that are, somewhat relative to early Thor's level, so that's not even that much of a stretch to say either. I don't know what statement they're specifically talking about, Spider-Man being close to Hulk, but that would be my answer to that. Additionally, you're talking about us not seeing the 10 rings full power against the Dragon Scale. I would argue that we have. When Wu put all 10 rings on his arm and did a full force punch into Shang-Chi's chest and was trying to kill him at that point, I don't know why this would be holding back. Just because he didn't shove the 10 rings into his body and spin them around with an orb, I don't think that necessarily means that the 10 rings at their full strength aren't relative to the Dragon Scale, especially considering the Dragon Scale didn't chip, break, or anything, but pretty much absorbed the entire blow. And obviously, if Shang-Chi didn't have that, a massive hole would have been torn into his torso. So I think it's pretty clear that the rings do scale, and the Dragon Scale armor does scale to the rings, and the director's statement should be valid. What do you guys think?
Chad is burning to tell you what he thinks.
Go ahead, Chad. Go.
That statement he's referring to, where the Russos say that Spider-Man is close in strength, at that time, they were basically like participating in, I think it was a Screen Junkies, like, who would you have on your team if you were participating in the Civil War? And one of them chose Spider-Man, specifically Civil War Spider-Man, and their justification was, well, in the comics, Spider-Man is relative to Hulk in strength. So, in regards to that comment that guy's talking about, they do explicitly mention it's comic Spider-Man that they're talking about.
Which is wrong, right? But,
wrong regardless.
That anyway, yeah. But it's like if the Russos are saying that, a fucking Beetle is faster than a Mustang. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really influence their validity over the MCU itself or their movies. Like, they just happen to be wrong about something they have no power over. So
there you go. I think that accurately debunks point 1. Unless you guys have something else to add.
I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, he continues to cry about Jolling, who even in the stream I said could be lower, and I mentioned this multiple times that there are counters in the tier list. It's not going to be 100% perfect when there's a character that's far below someone else that they could beat, because we're talking about like consistency. If they can't beat anyone else in between those two, it would be kind of dumb to put them that high when they lose to everyone else below them, right? Which I also did mention, Mac Attack.
Batman with Kryptonite beats Superman, but Batman with Kryptonite does not beat Wonder Woman, who is weaker than Superman.
Right. So he goes on to say, also, Jolling is just a regular human, and the armor doesn't even cover all of her. Thor could just vaporize her with lightning, and Hulk would just punch her head off. Iron Man would just carpet bomb her or shoot her in the face, etc., etc., etc. And I already mentioned all of this, and I have Thor and Hulk above her, so I don't know why you're crying about that. So I can't take that seriously at all. She should be about 10 tiers lower, like Super Soldier tier at best. Well, she should be far more skilled, or at least relative to the best super soldiers in the verse, and she has weapons that scale relative to Hulk. So I disagree.
She's also not going to just be standing still while Thor and Iron Man and Hulk are going to be
carpet bombing her, or whatever you said.
She's not going to stand there.
And I'm not saying Iron Man can't beat her, but for consistency's sake in the Dragon Warrior tier, I think Shang-Chi pretty much dumps on Iron Man pretty consistently. So there you have that. Loki being above Thor is just silly. This comment is just silly, in my opinion. I mean, we explained why. He routinely struggles with humans. I'm not sure what humans you're talking about.
Loki struggles with humans?
Not that I've seen. I mean, he fights Captain America in the first Avengers and
is beating him up.
Yeah, tanks all of his attacks. Are you talking about the people that were
possessed by Sylvie and Loki?
Maybe, or the people that are trying to erase him from existence. Those people would just scale to him and wouldn't be regular humans.
They're possessed, or they're like empowered. So not your average Joe. If your average Joe could beat up Loki, then why is he like a threat to all of New York? Why are they about to nuke the city?
Mm-hmm.
If a normal guy could just walk up to Loki, knock him out, and take the scepter.
Right.
A little weird.
Okay, so he has a problem with Scarlet Witch being above Celestials because the biggest thing that she's ever reality warped is a town, but we're talking specifically about how she's able to reality warp, which is she literally does it at a microcellular level. So the size isn't really the issue. It's the ability to do it regardless. So if Erisham reaches out his hand and it all turns to bubbles, he's not gonna have that hand any longer.
Yep.
So it's not really a question of range.
A chunk of his brain,
Yeah, exactly.
Presuming he has one, but we can only presume he has something that makes him tick.
Oh my god. Okay, so he says Curse Solo is silly. He swatted Mjolnir away, which even Thanos never replicated. Thor gets stronger. We explained that in the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Makes Thor bleed. So does Thanos. I don't know.
Thanos makes a stronger Thor bleed.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah,
Right.
Thanos almost beat a stronger Thor to death. Like, that dude was like, all groggy. You could literally see it in his face expressions, and he could barely hold.
He doesn't try to 2v1, Thanos with Cap, so
Right.
Yeah.
it's completely done for.
Okay, so that's the response to that. Sif is almost on par with Hulk Buster and Enraged Age of Ultron Hulk, question mark? I mean, she's at the bottom of this tier, but yeah, she's second to Thor via statements.
Yep.
So I don't know what the big deal about that is. She's
in
the same tier, but would lose.
Other members of the Warriors 3 like hitting Hela and like knocking her head back.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. is what it is, buddy.
I mean, we could put her higher. We could put her above these characters if we really wanted to, but
Yes, sir.
I think we're being pretty, you know,
Slowballing her.
yeah, pretty safe placement. I don't think you could put her any lower. Where do you want her? Down here with the super soldiers? Even using like this
Everybody down there,
yeah,
I think.
I don't even need explaining how silly that is. Well, you do though. This is the thing, because your complaint makes no sense. Panther is way too high. His nanite suit, he was one-shot punched by Thanos. I don't think so. He survived that. Got right back up right after that. And we saw him just fine. He was trying to get Okoye to stand up.
He gets up against a holding back Thanos, and he gets up against a bloodlusted.
Yeah, that's
Kang.
also true.
Well,
Thanos throws his blade at him, and Black Panther like shrugs it off, gets right back up immediately.
Well, here's the thing about when he punches him, when Panther jumps at Thanos and he punches him. Let's take this guy's interpretation where Black Panther was knocked out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more energy the suit absorbs, the more vulnerable it becomes to being overcharged, become oversaturated. Sorry, and when it is at full capacity and it gets hit like from an attack that would usually charge it, it puts T'Challa vulnerable to damage, as you see in Black Panther when he gets hit by like the Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scene, you see that the suit is partially charged. Because the more it gets charged, like the more it lights up purple. So that even if you did get knocked out, that's not an anti-feat or like a contradiction to anything. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Also, when he gets hit by the blade as well, considering that should be right after Infinity War for T'Challa, the suit would be empty, like free of any kinetic energy storage. So, yeah, it's just like that just shows how
he tanks 2 attacks from Thanos pretty much in succession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
He goes on to say, Eternal scaling is just silly. Again, you have the issue of director statements. We already talked about director statements.
Not an issue.
Consistently, Ikaris struggles with deviants who struggle to knock down a small wooden building or lift a metal tree. He and the rest of the Eternals, e.g. Gil and Phastos, are way too high. Should be 2 or 3 tiers lower. How is Gil on the level of Ikaris? I explained that. He's stated to be the strongest.
Yeah, and I think too the notion that like, okay, let's even say that the Russos have been wrong a few times. To say that and to then extrapolate and say that all director statements are inherently invalid, I think is a super disingenuous position to have. You just have to, like, the reality of the situation is they made the thing. Like, they were very involved at every level of creating the thing. So, yeah, I think to say that, oh well, I just debunked all author statements is a little silly to use your words.
Yeah. I agree. So let's continue on. This guy's still not done. Black Widow is like so many tiers above characters like Blonsky and Daredevil. You think she would one-shot stomp them? I didn't say she would one-shot stomp them, but I mean, she's way more skilled than them, so she would, outskill them to the point where they pretty much wouldn't be able to fight back.
With her Widow's Bite, she probably does one-shot.
Yeah, that's
at least
also
Blonsky.
true. Yeah.
So, yeah, I could floor Black Panther. So
Black Panther's pretty strong.
Stronger than Daredevil, who
That's
Okay.
when the Widow's Bite are on the lowest setting as well.
Yeah, the weakest Widow's Bite puts Panther to his knees.
Okay, so that's done with Mac Attack. The next person is Serge Perez, who says, if Ikaris was stated to be on par with Captain Marvel, shouldn't he be on her tier, and not below? Well, relative and like equal are not the same thing. The director did say that Captain Marvel would win. He's only one tier below her. So if there's just a blatant statement that he would lose to her, I don't think putting them on the same tier would be very accurate. I don't know how you guys feel, but that would be my...
No, I mean, yeah, he just loses.
Right.
You know, that's the statement we've got. He just loses. So, you know, they'd have a fight. There would be a competition, but as far as we know, every time, 10 times out of 10, based on the statement, he would lose the fight. So,
yeah, that's more just a clarification comment, I guess, for you. But I thought it was worth addressing at least.
Yeah.
What? You had something to say, Chad?
Oh yeah. Like, I feel like the statement does stress that like it's binary mode that gives Carol the upper hand. And based on Ikaris's like calc where it puts him, it would put him in like the Thanos regions of strength. And it's pretty much stated that in the final battle, Carol's using binary mode, and we see how badly she dominates Thanos. So it would pretty much be the same result for Ikaris.
Yeah.
If Captain Marvel used that.
So there's that explanation. So let's move on to the next one. This comment comes from Theo Cooper. He says, Thor has got AP advantage on Cap, lacks the skill, yes. However, Cap for the most part of the fight is getting beaten up, but Thor goes on par, so by the time he got beat up, his energy will be low, also bearing in mind he's out of shape. Then Cap caught Thanos off guard for a period, then got smacked. So essentially he's saying Thor is stronger than Cap, lacks skill, but Thor goes on par with Thanos, and then which weakens Thanos, which makes it easier for Cap. I think this comment is just blatantly wrong on all accounts, but
yeah, Thor doesn't really contend with Thanos blatantly.
He gets stomped, and that's like at the beginning of the fight. That's like right at the very beginning.
In fact, if you want to say that, Cap got hit by Thanos like I think twice or maybe at least once in his base form, which would certainly there's a bigger gap between base Cap and Thanos.
Yeah.
There's a bigger gap between that and Thor and Thanos. So Cap, by that metric, would also be heavily fatigued before he performs better against Thanos than Endgame Thor does.
Right. Cap catching Thanos off guard technically is true. Like, he hit him and then it got Thanos' attention. But from that point, like, that didn't do any debilitating damage to Thanos to the point where he was, like, weakened. It, like, glanced off his armor and Thanos was like, oh shit, alright, let's rumble. And then he just got his ass beat for the first half of that fight until he overpowered Cap. Which, of course, Thanos is stronger than Thor, so he'd be stronger than Cap. So
Cap with Thor's strength.
Exactly. The next comment comes from Bullet MacArthur. Says Black Widow never beat Taskmaster. She cured her. Very important distinction. I just very quickly would like to say that she was she gave herself the opportunity to cure Taskmaster by beating her in a hand-to-hand combat situation. So she's better than Taskmaster is at fighting, just blatantly, at least by the end of the movie. And they're in the same tier, so we never really even said it was a stomp. but Black Widow is more skilled by the end of the film. She does, obviously she gets jumped at the beginning, but yeah, Black Widow could certainly take down Taskmaster. So that's just a short clarification there. Let's see. All right, this is another big one from Victor Kane. I find it hard to believe that Kang would be above the creators of the worlds, i.e. Celestials. We know the Celestials can manipulate energy and matter on a planetary scale at minimum, yada, yada, yada. He just goes on to say that Celestials are strong. Here's the thing. Kang controls Alioth, who erases entire timelines, which Celestials are a part of. So,
yep.
I don't
every universe that would have ended up, every universe that would have ended up in the void had Celestials in it.
Exactly.
So, I know, Chad, you have a take on the Celestials' power. You sort of take a bit of an agnostic position.
What do you mean?
Like, you're like, well, do we actually know if they created the universe or whatever?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like the way I interpret it. The Big Bang creates the universe, right?
Yeah.
And then they just create, the stuff inside, like the celestial bodies and stuff, which then, cause and effect, fuel the creation of planets and so forth, and then civilization, and then it goes full circle. By them implanting the seeds of celestials, which destroy the planets, and then the cycle repeats itself. So,
yeah. So, definitely not as impressive as deleting timelines.
Yeah,
for sure. The next comment is another 10 Rings dragon armor one. I don't know what the hate for the Shang-Chi verse is, or like movie is.
Yeah, I mean, he blew up a giant dragon at the end. It was like a Dragon Ball Z fight. So, I mean, he's not. Maybe they saw the trailer and they saw him fighting dudes on a bus, and they're like, "Oh, okay. He's like Jason Bourne or something." But
so this comment is from Alexander, who says the whole army of Ta Lo had dragon scale weaponry and had trouble fighting the Ten Rings army, who were just trained soldiers with a slightly advanced weaponry. Also, when Wenwu hit Shang with the 10 Rings, he would be knocked so far back, while whenever Shang used his stick on him, he didn't even make him move. Not to mention, when he used the stick against the 10 Ring soldiers, they never fell over and was barely pushed back. I have a hard time thinking the same weapon would damage someone like Hulk or Thor. I'll let you guys handle this, because my dog is whining, so I'm going to let her pee. But I'll be right back while you guys talk about this one. And you can bring up the next. You can bring up the next one as well, if you handle it in like 2 seconds. But be right back.
Okay. I will let you handle this one, Chad. I feel like me and Garrick have been motor mouths this whole time. So.
Oh. Okay. Let me. Which one? Okay. Let me just read it real quick. I just. Shang with the Chinese people so far, but and even make him move, not to mention when he used his stick against the 10 Ring soldiers, they just fell over and were barely pushed back. I have a hard time believing the same weapon. Damage someone like. Okay, so. When Wu hits Shang, yeah, he gets knocked back, then that's him being hit with the seemingly full power of the rings. He puts them all on one hand and knocks him back. But he's still conscious. I don't know what else he's meant to, he's conscious underwater. And that's when he sees the dragon, if I remember correctly. Use the stick on him. I remember him, it's been a while since I've seen the film, but I remember when Wu shooting the rings individually at Shang, and Shang just knocking them back. No diff with the bow staff. I And not to mention when he used the stick against the Ten Ring soldiers, they just fell over and were barely pushed back. Alright, so I think what's being ignored here is like the context of Shang's mindset. He, throughout the film, he's like, what's the word? Conflicted about killing people because of that whole incident with Death Dealer. When, oh no, not Death Dealer, when he was sent to kill the people who killed his mom. And that's the thing that plagues him for a long time, which is why he's reluctant to tell Katie about it on the plane, despite the fact that she's his best friend. So yeah, I would just simply argue that he wasn't trying to kill any of those people. I mean, he could have killed, what's his name? Razor Fist on the bus if he so wanted to, but instead he just focused on saving the people, and putting as much distance between him and his father's men as possible. And obviously he does go to kill Death Dealer, but I feel like Death Dealer is a special case, being as the fact that is the if you look at the flashbacks, that is pretty much one of the core causes of his trauma, being as that is the guy that he was put to spar against over and over again and he never beat. And Death Dealer literally beat the fuck out of him. On basically a daily basis.
Literally.
Yeah. So it's like a key point to his trauma. Yeah, I don't think he was trying to kill anyone.
Even I can agree to that. So moving on to the next comment. What do we got here, Chad? What's the next comment?
What have we got here? Let's have a gander.
We can sink our teeth into where we got the wheel right now. This is our big shot. This is our big shot, kid.
Someone called Giancarlo who has a 7 Deadly Sins profile picture. And this guy says, I would have to agree on some I have to disagree on some points. Sorry.
Oh no!
Incredible Hulk is way.
You got my house up for a second, Chad.
My bad. Said Incredible Hulk is way too low. I feel like since he's bulletproof and can use his speed and strength to take down a decent amount of people above him. I thought he was leading into something else there, but obviously not. And he says, and I also disagree with a lot of Spider-Man and low-tier God characters. For example, there's a lot of counter-arguments for Crisis that actually does prove Tom being stronger, oh boy, and Goblin could use a barrage of missiles, use his glider to defeat anyone above him, and Mysterio should be in a difficult
Anyone
place.
above him?
Anyone. So that glider is going right through Arisham's head.
Let's go.
Okay. I mean, that's
The Goblin
cool.
upscale.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody in that comment section who was saying that that they could, that they had counter arguments. I think I asked that guy directly, like, why don't you use them then? And crickets. So
Nothing.
But they're saying some abstraction, like there are arguments to debunk that Toby's the strongest. That doesn't really mean anything. And Goblin's glider, I think the hype that comes from his glider is obviously the fact that it can cut through Ox tentacles, which there are statements that those tentacles by the end of Spider-Man 2 are just weaker than Toby. So not that impressive, even respective of that. At least in terms of the claim that they could, beat anybody above them, or a reasonably decent amount of people above him. And I mean, the thing about it is, like, we see that that the glider, when used as like a blunt object, is simply not that strong. Like, just flying into somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't atomize Aunt May, right?
Yeah, Aunt May it seems like she sort of bleeds internally from it. Tom, towards the end, isn't bisected by it, and per No Way Home, the Ox arms can contend with, at the very least, contend with the Iron Spider. which should just be bare minimum more durable than Tom, in a standard Spider-Man suit. So what I attribute that to spinning and cutting the arms is mostly due to the fact that more kinetic energy is created via things like a roundhouse kick, spinning something and getting more force that way. And then it's at that point, it's how many people are just going to let Goblin fly right up to them and hit him with it. And also, too, Ock, in that instance, I think losing... For the arms to not be in control is a huge nerf to Ock combatively. Ock has never fought anybody in his life. Meanwhile, the arms are clearly, aggro. They're just going to flip cars and murder people without, Ock's permission, so they're just way more inherently lethal than Ock, and he did not have that against Goblin. And also, just based on what happens in the movie, it doesn't make any sense for... it's not a smart move that Ock does to just trying to hold Goblin in place when we know that any of his arms could reach his body, per se. Or, for instance, and he just chooses not to, so... it's kind of whatever you want to say, plot, induce stupidity, character, induce stupidity, or whatever, but yeah.
Right.
Just really no, his glider's not that strong based on him cutting the tentacle.
So responding to the Incredible Hulk portion of that comment, just because he's bulletproof, who cares? I mean,
Daredevil's technically bulletproof.
Everyone above him is bulletproof too. He's just weaker. Dat Fly Guy 212 says this list is BS. Well, we're responding to comments right now on the list, so anything you feel is BS, we'd be happy to explain to you.
Yep, we're here. It's live.
All right, you are really undermining Groot. He would easily manhandle Bucky.
Bucky, huh?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Groot. I mean, what Groot's feats are, he gets cut by Gamora's blades, so it doesn't scale to them.
Drax can break out of his stuff.
Yeah, Drax can break out of it.
Winter Soldier should be able to just outskill and pummel him with his arm, with his bionic arm. I don't see why Groot would be able to survive that at all. I think it's just a skill gap thing, honestly.
Groot's best feat is piercing Outriders who Cap can one-shot. And, okay, the Hulkbuster got overwhelmed by them, which I think is a little stupid because, like I said, Cap can one-shot them and Bucky can just shoot them and kill them. So it seems more or less that, any one Outrider isn't relevant, but the movie's trying to convey that, a bunch of them can overwhelm Hulkbuster. Which doesn't prove that Groot scales to the Hulkbuster. And then from there, it's what Groot argument could you make that he can hold Stormbreaker?
Mm-hmm.
What else is there?
Yeah.
So,
let's see here. People asking for just simple explanations in chat. Please go watch the original video, which is posted on the channel. We're not going to go over every explanation. Right now, we're just responding to people with specific issues with the tier list. Otherwise, it would just be another 3-hour stream, which we don't want to do.
Just go to the original video and scrub through the timeline, and when you see a character's head getting moved around on the tier list, stop and listen to that.
Right. Alucard Meyer says, this list is shocking. Loki isn't in the same league as Thor. Don't even want to get into this. Ha 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 ha. Well, we explained earlier why Loki is above. We explained in the video why Loki is above. I guess we'll say it for the 5th time, but Loki's enchanting powers should easily be able to take care of Thor. This, of course, is Loki post his own series. From Theo Cooper again. Can someone go about explaining how Captain Marvel goes about killing Surtur? What's she gonna do, fly through him? Nah, because Hela stabbed him multiple times and he wasn't affected. Yeah, I mean, she could fly through his brain.
keep flying through him until he can't do anything.
She could just continually pummel him until he's dead. I mean, Odin beat him. Why can't Captain Marvel beat him? Like,
also Hulk. I mean, Sertev was kind of off guard, but he's still
staggered,
vulnerable to be. Yeah, he's still staggered by Hulk jumping on him, and Captain Marvel
obviously is
a lot stronger than Hulk.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a weird comment to make. Captain Marvel's above Hela too, so we think Captain Marvel's stronger than Hela. So why would Hela's feats be anti-feats for Carol? That doesn't make any sense.
Why would
Theo
be by Carol's feats?
Ooh.
Anthony Dodson says, oh, never mind. That's not an actual comment. I_Almighty. Thor never got knocked out by Thanos. Cap did twice.
Can I answer this? Is that right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's just a lie. Thor did get knocked out by Thanos. He got knocked out by Thanos at the start of Infinity War when he blew up the ship.
Yep.
And he got knocked out by Thanos in Endgame when Captain America and Thor jump in for the gauntlet.
Yep.
And Captain America getting knocked out. Captain America in base getting knocked out by Thanos isn't an anti-feat at all. I don't think anyone needs to explain that. Plus, he didn't even have his full equipment there either. And him getting knocked out in Endgame, I mean, Thanos is just a lot stronger.
He also gets knocked out. Thor gets knocked out, and in the initial, when Cap gets Mjolnir, he gets knocked out by.
Yeah, you're right.
Like Thor gets knocked out then, so.
I'm always would say.
Completely turned to dust, more or less. Fair to say.
Yep.
So incorrect.
That's the truth.
Next comment, Johnny.
Somebody's asking how Winter Soldier could beat Drax when Drax was hit by a bunch of trees. So I mean that's visually impressive. Oh, this happens a lot really in scaling. Is shit looks like it's crazy, but in like actuality it's not. Like falling from the atmosphere into the earth is like wall level. Like the heat generated by the center of the sun is like city block level.
In terms of kinetic energy.
Yeah, right. So it's it looks cool, but they scale similarly in their strength and durability. They're both similar. Actually, Winter Soldier would be a lot stronger with his arm, so he would basically punch a hole through Drax's chest. Yeah, but we have Drax above Bucky regardless. Winter Soldier is a different story because of his mindset. And his consistent feats. So that's an answer to that. Rocket is a bit weird. Well, we explained it in the original video, so check that out. How is Okoye beating Winter Soldier? Did you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier? The Dora Milaje can disable his arm. They're a lot more skilled than he is. Okoye's their leader. She is the most skilled of all of them. She has vibranium weapons that can one-shot kill him.
Yep.
Pretty obvious. At least to me. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick, but...
We've just been doing this for a while. It's the nature of the beast.
I don't know how many Spider-Man rants you want to go on, but...
I've got... until I get tired of them, keep them coming.
Okay. I'd be interested in seeing a tier list or ranking for skill alone. Mostly to see where you think... Okay, so this is just a regular good old comment from Agent Manda, so thank you for not attacking us. I like to see where you think characters like Thanos and Thor place. It should be very skilled, but just often overpower people. I imagine a top 10 would likely be Shang-Chi, a bunch of Netflix characters, maybe Nat, T'Challa, Death Dealer, Yelena, Gamora. Yeah, I mean, you got the gist of it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Captain America and Natasha should technically be like the top two, but Shang-Chi will probably be the best by the time everything is all said and done.
He certainly, all it takes is one statement that he gets like constantly in the comics. So,
Nath Shivakavi wants a video on non-MCU Marvel characters, weakest to strongest, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man trilogy, TASM, Venom, etc. I believe you two have a tier list on that, or maybe it's just Chad. But you guys could do a live stream on that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to, but like TASM is in the MCU now, and so are Venom.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
I wouldn't be including them.
And Fox is about to be in the
Yeah,
MCU.
yeah.
Yeah.
If it sorry, I was gonna say if it's the I don't think it will be the the versions from the movies. But if it is, then I won't do it because we can just add them to the list. But if it's if it's not, then I'll see if Crisis wants to do the tier list.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's look at some chat questions from Cam Bam. Are Killmonger and Black Panther meant to be higher than Hulk and pre-awakened Thor? Yes, they are meant to be that high. They have more durability and attack potency.
I think the nature of it, and it does look goofy, I will admit, but the thing about it is the best feat that everybody scales to, prior to Thor Awakening, like prior to pretty much Endgame, I want to say, in terms of outright
Infinity War.
Outright feats. Infinity War Endgame, sure. Is Sokovia, and feats after that just dwarf the
I think
Sokovia
that's large town level for like a mid-tier god around there. And Black Panther's Vibranium is withstanding like island to country level attacks. And then his AP would be similar. He's able to scratch Captain America's shield, which has like mountain to island level durability. So, like you said, it might look goofy, but it just is what it is.
For those who say they're going to be it chip the paint. If we say something like that, there's a scan of it. Like it exists.
It did. There is a scan that it did score the metal itself, so it scratched the vibranium.
Yes.
Obadiah Stane is multiversal. There's no need to explain that. Who's the hardest character to scale accurately, or who has the most inconsistent feats? We have an entire tier list of characters that are hard to scale. I think we probably could put most of these on here. I think the absolute hardest to scale characters would be these three from Eternals, but that's just me. Actually, maybe the Warriors 3 would be pretty tough. But yeah, all these characters.
Spider-Man's pretty hard, but that's
out of all the characters that are actually on the tier list, Spider-Man's pretty tough.
And that's just a matter of tracking like everything.
Having Daredevil on the same tier as Batroc that Leaper just feels wrong? Why? What's wrong with that? Batroc's pretty good, man. Batroc's sick. He's able to fight like Falcon. He's able to fight Captain America. He's really skilled. I mean, are you saying Daredevil should be way above him, or are you saying Batroc's too low?
It's interesting because we know from Falcon and Winter Soldier that Batroc is like a renowned hitman, and obviously Fisk is very wealthy, and he could most likely hire a hitman if need be, but he's like, yo, this Bullseye guy is something else. So maybe at least the notion that they should be around the same tier is not too unfounded within the context of the shows and movies themselves.
Right.
Grey Sentinel says, well, I assume people like Widow are above due to gear. He has blatantly better hand-to-hand feats and physical showings. Well, no. So, Black Widow is stated to have unparalleled martial arts skills. In a guidebook that came out, I do believe it's at least post and it's like right
I think
before
Infinity
War.
War. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's also stated to be one of the two best fighters on the planet by Scarlet Witch, who she trained. So that Scarlet Witch should have an accurate amount of information to make that a reliable statement. And I will admit, Daredevil's fighting style, it is a lot more flashy. At least like when he's doing all the jumping and shit when he's fighting Nobu.
Yeah.
Just because her fighting style looks flashier, doesn't mean that it will always work.
Yeah, I mean, Widow's is pretty flash. Like in Iron Man 2, you see what she does to like high level goons. Daredevil, I don't think has ever ran through anyone that easily. Especially not that skilled.
Every single hallway scene he's in,
he struggles.
Yeah,
Black Widow
he
just
ends
runs
up
through people.
Yeah, so even just being like flashiness or visual flair.
Gate Nerd doesn't understand how city level or country level measures work. Black Panther hit by anything that strong should at least be thrown backwards hundreds of miles an hour, right? So, well, first of all, he has Vibranium, which absorbs kinetic energy. But second of all, I mean, it's just like a concession you have to have with various fictional universes. Not everything is 100% going to be, like scientifically accurate. We see Captain America has a Vibranium shield, which can blatantly withstand strikes from Thanos, who can make Thor bleed, etc., right? But in Winter Soldier, a grenade hits it and Cap goes flying like 100 feet, even though we know for a fact that the Vibranium shield should disperse all the kinetic energy and the grenade should fall to the ground and blow Cap's legs off. So there's just concessions you have to make when power scaling, and you take a look at what's most consistent. So that's what we try to do, and we try to make the most sense of everything. Are we perfect? No, but we do our best, and we've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So a lot of the questions we're receiving, most of them are pretty harmless, just people confused. Some people have, venom behind the words, which, kind of sucks sometimes, but we don't mind explaining stuff to people who haven't done it as long. It's fun to do, but it does take a lot of work. Stealth Ven, getting back to the comments from the original video, lots of people seem to forget that Black Panther one-shot Cull Obsidian and should be in the same tier as Ant-Man, at least because of it. He didn't one-shot Cull Obsidian, he knocked Cull Obsidian over. So there's that. If he one-shot Cull Obsidian wouldn't have been alive to fight the Hulkbuster, right? So
yeah, it's also like Iron Spider can move Thanos, like he can kick him, and because obviously Spider-Man can lift more than what Thanos weighs. So just pushing somebody's body doesn't mean you're gonna beat them up.
Random dude in chat says Cap with hammer, Mjolnir. Same tier as Thor. I'm not sure on that one. Thor actually has more physical abilities. Well, if you remember the enchantment that Odin put on Mjolnir itself, it's whoever has the hammer shall be granted the powers of Thor. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but the powers of Thor include his strength, speed, durability, literally his powers. So you just are Thor, essentially. So Cap would not have a disadvantage in that realm. He would have the same exact stats as Thor, but be more skilled. So
in the first movie, Thor loses his powers and he gets them back by picking up the hammer.
Exactly, right. So when he loses his powers, he becomes a regular human. So his strength, speed, and durability would be considered part of his power set.
Also,
electricity and so forth.
I know people like to bring up, well, Cap got cut by the blade. That blade would also just cut Thor's head off because it's made out of Uru, and like when that blade and Stormbreaker clash, neither of them like give way.
Mm-hmm.
So they're, relative, if not equal, to be honest, in AP.
Lily Punani from the previous video said John Walker should not be above the Winter Soldier. The only reason why Bucky didn't kill him, I guess that's John Walker, is because he is now holding back. So John Walker should not be a Winter Soldier. Let me see. Okay, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I have an issue with that. So
this is John Walker with the serum, obviously, not base John Walker, who is like way down here somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So my issue with that is, and I've seen people make that argument before as well, is that I don't think Bucky was necessarily trying to kill him, but I definitely think he was trying his damn hardest to get the shield. Especially narratively, out of everyone there, Bucky would be the one who would want to get the shield back the most, being as he was Sam was the one who was given the shield and was willing to give it up to that museum, whereas Bucky, when Sam made that decision, was very pissed off at him for it. And obviously, US agent, by the time that they do the 2v1, has already disgraced what that shield is meant to stand for, and kind of damaged the name of the person who utilized it before him, and that person happens to be Bucky's best friend. So it just adds to it, adds more weight to Bucky's chest, because he feels responsible.
Yeah, and also it comes down to how much are they holding back? Bucky wants to win, does he not? If Bucky's holding back to the point where he gets completely shit on, then I don't think it makes logical sense for him to be holding back.
Yeah, he gets ragdolled and knocked out for a part of the fight.
He's trying to win the fight. So if he's holding back and getting shit on, then he should stop holding back. So, I mean, yeah, I don't... Mikkel is asking in chat why Goblin is so low. You'd have to expand on that a bit more and tell us where you think Goblin should be, and then maybe we would be able to better answer that. Getting back to the previous comments, Carl Reeves says, lots are saying that Wanda is now all-powerful since WandaVision. She mind-controlled a whole small town full of normal humans, but this is nothing amazing because in Age of Ultron she controlled all Avengers, including a god. She mind-controlled some soldiers again, Age of Ultron Avengers. She stopped a drone. Okay, she stopped a bomb in Civil War. She created holograms that had personalities, but they were just holograms. What? Okay. And they and the only Darkhold kind of gave her 2 kids in real life, not Wanda. She beat Agatha only by tricking her. Okay, I'm gonna stop reading this because this is a pretty bad comment. Okay, they weren't holograms. They were able to interact with the real world. Like Vision fought White Vision. So I don't know how that's a hologram. It stated in the show that she can create matter via chaos magic, and she reality warped the entire town into various eras in sitcom, in the history of sitcoms. It wasn't an illusion. It made physical changes. That's a bad comment. I'm sorry to Carl Reeves, but to watch the show again. He left another comment. I'm not going to even read it. Doctor Strange is here's one I will read. Another Carl Reeves. The previous one that I'm not reading is just another bad Wanda comment. You know what? I'll read it just so people aren't saying that I'm hiding or not responding to comments. Wanda waves her hand, and hits Agatha with a car. The car smashes into the front of Agatha's house upside down. Wanda walks over to see Agatha's boots under the wreckage. She looks in the shattered window glass to see the White Vision laying behind her. Vision, is it really you? She asks. The Vision says her name, takes her face in his hands and starts to crush her skull. And I told you were powerful. And I was told you were powerful. Wanda screams in pain. Vision flies into White Vision at full speed. Wanda is knocked loose as Vision throws White Vision into an RV, which explodes into a huge fireball. I don't even know what he's saying there. So anyway,
I thought that was like a fanfic. Like, here's what would happen if
he just recaps like a scene. I don't get that. All right, Carl Reeves back again. Doctor Strange is slow. Spider-Man No Way Home beat him due to speed. Ebony Maw beat him due to speed. Wanda is slow too.
Can I talk about the Spider-Man thing? Because this is something I've wanted to get off my chest.
Oh my God, he's got a lot to say. Go ahead.
Okay, so if what you're referring to, Mind Freud, is him not being able to grab his body while he, pushed his astral form out of it. For one, Spider-Man, when fighting, has never, ever performed that good, has never had that good of precognition or autonomous movement outside of that. So the only thing that we can glean from that is that when his consciousness is removed from his body, he just has way better precognition or, autonomous movement, like I said. And so in a fight scenario, Tom Holland Spider-Man cannot do that. Especially if you want to say, oh yeah, Doctor Strange is trying his absolute hardest to get that box out of his hand, which we also know is not true. I think, I'm pretty sure Benedict Cumberbatch has gone as far to say he loves Peter Parker. Like Doctor Strange, has a very deep respect and camaraderie for him in the movie. So if he really wanted that box, he would just push his astral form into another dimension or something, like we see the Ancient One can do to Strange, and Strange should have that ability easily by the time of No Way Home. So in a combat sense, that doesn't add up. We see later in the movie that Doctor Strange is able to keep up with the action. He's not just completely in awe of everything. He's not a statue while Green Goblin's flying around or Doc Ock is maneuvering or the three Spider-Men are interacting. So
I mean, we see Doctor Strange blatantly reacting to Thanos, who can hit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Strange could have atomized Spider-Man if he wanted to. I mean, I don't get this argument from people.
Also,
but...
there are statements that sorcerers amp themselves with energy, and that energy comes from dimensions that are both above and side by side, sacred timeline. So
higher dimensional power.
Yes, sir. 4D Strange, just on the rig.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the chat comments. I'm going back and forth here. Gray Sentinel says Winter Soldier shouldn't be so far beneath Cap and Panther either. He stated Cap's equal. Well, he can't hurt Panther, so there's no way he would ever be anywhere near him. He's stated to be Cap's equal in the Winter Soldier and beats him in Civil War. When you actually check the airport fight, Bucky spends the bulk of it beating on Panther. I'm pretty sure Panther was about to kill him, and Winter Soldier gets dumped on a rooftop as well by Black Panther. He gets hit with a drop kick in the Civil War fight. I don't think he does anything. Panther can blatantly overpower his arm as well. I mean, if you want to really get into the thick of it, Black Panther should have way higher AP, and then obviously his durability would just be insane.
Yeah.
And that's all before he gets the herb due to.
I did just rewatch that when I saw that comment. Just to rejog my memory. At the very best, being fair to Bucky, you can say that they're relative. Black Panther overpowers his arm twice. Once when they're in that the United Nations building, and when they're at the airport, right before Black Panther is about to rip his throat out, and like Garrick said, he does beat him on the rooftop, or at least gives him the hands. And then I think the best mindset you can put Bucky in, Winter Soldier, is when he's just walking through everyone, he walks through Agent 13, Black Widow, Falcon, and Tony. And Black Panther pulls up. Black Panther beats him there as well. He outskills him.
Yeah.
He tries to run off, and that is Winter Soldier mindset Bucky, who literally tries to kill Captain America. A scene before.
Yep. So yeah, I don't see it there. Let's see. Will the board guy in the comments said, all I'm gonna say is the reason people downplay the Eternals is one, because the movie was bad. 2, they came out of nowhere with from a lore standpoint. 3, they're a recent addition to the MCU. And 4, all their feats are isolated. It's not because the people downplaying the Eternals are racist or sexist or homophobic or ableist or whatever. Did I post this in here? Oh. I had just said to this person, I'm sure that's the same reason people downplay Captain Marvel and Wanda too. Has nothing to do with the rampant misogyny in the fandom, right? Let's just call the spade a spade.
Some people.
Yeah, I'm not saying everyone, but the overwhelming majority of detractors, I don't think are arguing in good faith.
Yep.
Yeah, I think.
But we don't have to get into
and I mean,
that.
Yeah, we don't need to. It's all right, you know.
How can you assert that Alioth is more powerful than a Celestial? Alioth kills Celestials all the time.
Yeah.
Millions, arguably an infinite amount of Celestials he's killed. So
Celestials are going to be in every single timeline they created. You know, they've at least been there since the beginning of the universe. Whether they created it or not is moot. But as far as we know, you know, the Celestials survive until modern day per Eternals in most likely most universes, most timelines that they would have devoured. Like, we know for instance, old Loki is from an identical timeline up until Infinity War. So the Celestials should also be live in that timeline, which was completely destroyed. So, and Alioth just consumed it. So the Celestials, if they don't want to be consumed, would have attempted to put up a fight, or they just simply could not contend. So, yeah.
They get one shot. And somebody below that comment, like immediately after it, said, Alioth stronger than Celestial, LMAO, crying, laughing emoji. It's like, they are. I don't... I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean...
It's one of the worst points...
I'm crying and laughing.
It's one of the worst points I've ever seen. Like, it's just not good.
Yeah,
and I don't... if I'm being toxic, let me know, but it's just a bad argument. Alioth has literally killed millions, billions, trillions, infinite number of Celestials.
Yep.
Right? There's an infinite number of timelines that Alioth purged. So, I mean... Anyway, I'm sorry, but Wanda is not above Hela. Like many other people have said in the comments, she's a glass cannon. Hela will be able to take Wanda's attacks. Not likely the same answer for Wanda. Hela has way faster combat speed and far greater versatility. Wanda's getting clapped.
I think it. Like if you look at
that was
Wanda
from
does in
Nick Knack 7, by the way. Comment, not
I was gonna say, if you look at what Wanda does in WandaVision, the time the show ends and she's reading the Darkhold, she's basically a walking Infinity in Gauntlet, like in terms of the stuff she can do, and like, what's Hela gonna do when she just turns Hela into like a sitcom character, like a literal clown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't like this character's a glass cannon argument, because usually the glass cannon one-shots most everyone. Like, the utility of the glass cannon we're talking about specifically isn't just beams of energy. If the fight started, she could crush Hela into a little ball with her magic, or like Chad said, turn her into a fucking Full House character, into her sisters from the Full House. So...
Yes.
I don't understand that argument. Like, Doctor Strange is a glass cannon too, but should he be lower? Why are you specifically targeting Wanda? Anyway, I'm not gonna say anything else.
Oh my god.
If Thor can kill Thanos with 6 Infinity Stones, if he had just gone for the head, Thor should be universal too. Thor defeated Thanos in Infinity War, killed in Endgame. I think Thor can win against Captain Marvel too. If Stormbreaker can cut Thanos' limbs, then it can also did the same to Captain Marvel. Very poor power scaling. I'm pretty sure Thor can kick the crap out of Gilgamesh. Listen, I don't want to keep accusing people of sexism and racism, but when you say shit like this, it looks pretty cringe. First of all, as I explained in my Thor video, the Stormbreaker specifically created to counter the Infinity Gauntlet. He caught Thanos off guard. In Endgame, do I need to explain? I'll explain it anyway. Clearly, I do. Thanos had like one arm, was being held down for part of that fight. Had no will to fight back because he already won, and then Thor cut his head off. A defenseless Thanos. That's not a feat. You saying I think Thor can win against Captain Marvel too because it can cut Thanos' limbs off? Okay, she just catches Stormbreaker and cuts Thor's head off. Like, I just I don't.
He's like Captain Marvel is stronger than Thanos, who not only catches Stormbreaker mid-flight when Thor tries to call it, but Thor literally tries to swing it at his head and he just catches the handle and stops it.
Yeah.
And he also just overpowers Captain America, like Captain America's wrist while he's holding Mjolnir. And obviously Captain America at that point was as strong as Thor physically. Captain Marvel could also just do that instead. You know, it's like...
Yeah, I don't know why he brought up Gilgamesh as well instead of bringing up Ikaris, but you guys can think what you want about that. But Gilgamesh is the strongest Eternal. Ikaris is somewhat relative to Captain Marvel, but would lose. So he would just be stronger than Thor. So that's the answer to that.
Mm-hmm. No, he's a glass cannon.
Banana glass.
Okay, this person said every time something opposing you in chat or whatever, try insulting them. Listen, I only insult the people that make really dumbass comments. Like I've said multiple times, this is a good question. And a lot of people are just asking normal questions. I'm not insulting anyone, but when you're a dickhead or you say something really stupid sarcastically with LMAO with crying laughing emoji, I think me being a little bit of an asshole is warranted. So, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Stop being such
like,
a little bitch.
Give you the same energy, and it's like
I love
a lot of
all comments, personally. I love them all.
We know you don't discriminate, bro.
Quit being so sensitive.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm not being sensitive.
But, a lot of the time, people who comment also just don't have enough knowledge to be making the claims that they do. Like, a lot of people that leave the Thor comments don't have the...
Chad's right. Sometimes they just say the dumbest shit, and it's funny. Especially when they say it with a lot of confidence. Now, if you get in the comment section, you're like, I disagree with this, I think this. I'll be like, well, here's why that's not true. But if you're a dickhead about it, then fuck you. Anyway. The problem with this list is that there are categories that have no meaning or do not make sense. What's the baseline for Dragon Warrior? What is a Dragon Warrior? Why is Dragon Warrior placed higher than mid-tier Avenger? This list has too many tiers and there is no criteria provided as to what power level is for the tier, the skill level, the strength level, and so forth. That's not true. I explained at the beginning that the naming conventions are arbitrary. I said that in like the first 5 minutes, so you just didn't listen. You probably fast-forwarded to the end of the video and just saw the final tier list and decided to complain about it. So that's your own dumbass fault for doing that. There's no criteria provided as to what the power level is. That's also not true. Because you didn't watch the video, you would of course not know this. The skill level, we do go into that. I blatantly talk about the skill level of most of the low tiers for like an hour. The strength level, so forth. Everything you just said was wrong because you didn't watch the video and you're leaving this comment for I don't know what reason. There's a 3-hour video. You think we didn't address any of this in the entire runtime? That is the counseling couch. So shout out to you for leaving probably the worst comment that I've seen thus far. Chaggle Bridget said, really enjoy this tier list, but I don't know why, but it was just painful to hear Chris talk. I don't know who Chris is.
I don't know if he's talking about me or Crisis, because on one hand, Chris sounds closer to Crisis pronunciation, and I can understand like that kind of getting spell check error. But everyone who was complaining about like the sound of someone's mic, it was in relation to me, and also a lot of the time
I think he sounded fine personally, but
I did ask some people who were listening, DMs over Discord, and they were fine. But also, people sometimes don't like to listen to a British person talk. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't they mention the accent later?
I mean,
What they
I
say in the
feel
comments, yeah.
like me and Crisis say and just as I don't know, that just happens when you're talking about something off the top of your head.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I agree.
D Gravel
Yes.
D Gravel Rama from the comments again says it is. Oh, we already addressed this, so no need to go into that.
The gravel rom,
Uh,
that's how I feel about it.
Copstead Power 29 123 in the comments said, I mean, Infinity War Thor clapped Thanos, but alright, a Thanos with all 6 stones. We already addressed that.
Infinity War Thor clapped Thanos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This guy makes some arguments against Infinity War and Endgame Thor, which let's talk about, because I think this is it's a contentious topic. I don't think it should be, but it is. So let's take a look. They said, I was pretty annoyed. No need to get annoyed, man. It's just someone else's opinion on the internet. I was pretty annoyed at the comparison between Infinity War Thor and Endgame Thor. Well, the person whose comment this is, their name is cut off in this screenshot, so I'm sorry. I can't provide that, but it's probably still in the comments. I get that the director said Endgame Thor got stronger, and I understand that he has greater feats, his weather casting, so yeah, no doubt he's stronger by power. Now, if this was strictly power-only scaling video, I would have no qualms, but it's specifically stated by your team, we're a team, yeah, that this comparison...
I love that.
Yeah, hell yeah. On who would win a fight is more times than not. You guys also compared hand-to-hand combat skill as well as versatility, which are pretty important aspects when looking at who would win in a fight. My argument that Infinity Thor wins against Endgame Thor is not that the latter is fat, it's that 1, he's rusty, unpolished, hasn't trained in 5 years, 2, he isn't shown to be able to fly. That's a massive versatility nerf, as flight can win many battles. 3, speed-wise, Endgame Thor barely keeps up with Thanos, but Infinity War, Thor could land an ambush attack on Thanos. Coupled with flight, Infinity War, Thor has higher speed. So in terms of combat skill versatility as well as speed, Infinity War, Thor takes the W. Sure, the director stated in Endgame, Thor is the most powerful, that Endgame Thor is the most powerful, but I'll take that to mean in terms of sheer strength, not or Asgardian magical power. In terms of who would win more times in a fight, Infinity War, Thor wins in skill, flight, versatility, and speed, which honestly is obvious to me that Infinity War Thor is superior. So let me take a crack at a couple of these, and then you guys can expand on that. 1, he's rusty, unpolished, hasn't trained in 5 years. Sure, but he's thousands of years old. I don't know that his skill would instantly leave his body, but it's not like we got any real concrete skill feats from Thor prior to Endgame to say that he would ever be on Thanos' level. And again, you have to remember that Thanos beat the shit out of him at the beginning of Infinity War. So obviously his skill wasn't much of a factor in that fight. And sure, he didn't have Stormbreaker, but Thanos wasn't using his blade, or, Thor would be dead. That was a hand-to-hand fight, although off-screen, Thanos still won. So I don't think that skill part, or that point of him being rusty, holds any water. He isn't shown to be able to fly. He's not shown to not be able to fly either. I know that's kind of not the best argument in the world, but he just chooses not to do it. Him flying in the air and then coming down at Thanos doesn't seem like that much of a strategic advantage. I just don't think this point's all that relevant. You said that Endgame Thor barely keeps up with Thanos. Again, Infinity War Thor never keeps up with Thanos either. He gets beat in a 1v1. We know that for a fact. And you said because in Infinity War Thor could land an ambush attack on Thanos, that he's faster, but again, that's an ambush attack. Like, what? So I don't think that's a great point. I mean, if I ambush someone and they don't see the attack coming, why would that make me faster than them? And then when Thor throws Stormbreaker, Thanos does react to it. So I don't think that's a great counterpoint. So I don't think any of your points hold that much water. I mean, maybe you could argue the flying point, I guess, but I don't see the major advantage to Thor doing that, and I guess strategically he doesn't either. Cap has the same skills as Thor as well, and he never flies. So there you have that. I mean, Captain Marvel doesn't really fly against Thanos either. She kind of just floats there and attacks him. So I guess if you find like a real strategic reason for him to do so, then sure. Thor also sees Iron Man fly against Thanos, which doesn't do much. So I'm not sure flight makes much of a difference, although that probably is the best point that you made. Him being unpolished, I don't think it holds any weight, again, because he loses in Infinity War, and the speed point, you counter your own point by saying it was an ambushed attack. And again, they fought in Infinity War, and Thor's quote-unquote speed advantage did nothing for him. Do you guys have anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, I was going to say that for most of Thor's career, and me and Chad talked about this comment specifically earlier, Thor's kind of just one-shotting everything throughout most of his career that we see. He's much stronger than the Frost Giants in the first Thor movie. Most likely, probably also, like, there's nothing to say that that Laufey is as strong. We know for a fact that he's out of his prime, and there is a statement that he could have beaten all the Ice Giants if he wanted to. And then in the Dark World, the super strong, like, Korg's brother lookalike, who is the biggest threat on the battlefield, Thor just one-shots him. So there's not really a lot of opportunities that we've seen for Thor to use his skill on screen, really. At least to say we've seen maybe 15 years maximum of Thor's career as a hero, as a fighter, and every other instance that we've gleaned that he's not actively fighting supervillains, even he's just running through these this army of people who are pretty much fodder to him at any given time. So I don't see why not fighting for 5 years would be that big of a hindrance to Thor, who has been running through everything, as far as we can tell, for like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and Crisis spoke about this earlier as well. It's like when like fighters become rusty, it's because obviously they haven't been as active as much, so the muscle memory isn't as ingrained, and is doesn't offer as much unconscious movement as it once did. You have to shake the rust off. So like, if Infinity War Thor, my issue basically is Infinity War Thor has had Stormbreaker for in Infinity War for 5 on-screen minutes, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. There's no way that he would have mastered that the weapon within that time frame, and there's no statements that point towards it either. Whereas Endgame Thor not only has had Stormbreaker for longer, but has superior skill feats with it. He clashes with Thanos' blade and disarms him, but he also has the weapon that he's had for 1,500 years, that being Mjolnir, which he has skill feats within pretty much all 3 of his solo movies. So, I just don't get why people stand Infinity War Thor just because he's, he looks more like a model than Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
He actually has no feats, other than beating some Outriders and blowing up a few ships. The Thanos one has context.
Yep. So that's all the comments we had from the previous video that we wanted to address. I think we did a pretty good job. There were some good comments in there. There were some dickish comments in there, but thank you to everyone who left a comment regardless. I'll take a couple minutes here. I'm not sure if Crisis has to leave here in a second, but just go over some more chat comments, because I told you guys we would do that. Polo Gus says, I feel like the Celestials should be higher. Well, they're kind of capped by Doctor Strange with the Time Stone. There's not really anything they could do to get past that. I guess the only argument really would be against Wanda, but for sure they're not beating Strange, Thanos with the full Infinity Gauntlet, Alioth, Dormammu, Obadiah, Stane, or Kang.
Correct.
Yeah. Gate Nerd said, I, for one, think you've all made an excellently well thought out list. I can't really think of anything I would change. Thank you. Again, we've
You're
said
a hero.
multiple times, it's
You're a hero of the people.
not a perfect list. We are willing to make changes. We do make changes all the time. You know, and if you bring up a relevant point, then definitely we'll consider. I actually received a few comments on some videos that I made a couple months ago that actually ended up changing some of my scaling that you guys will see in videos coming up soon. So I listen and I take constructive criticism. But saying that you know, Captain Marvel could never be Thor, laughing crying emoji isn't really constructive for anybody, isn't it?
It doesn't make you look smart either to just go LMAO, I'm dead. You know, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not a good look.
Eternals get beat.
And I'm really mad about it. If you say that, I'm mad. You got under my skin. You win, but I'm mad.
Hulk
I'm not
smash.
accepting it. Exactly.
Loki
Not
is not
accepting
stronger than Thor, says P. Kook. I agree, he's not. He is higher on the tier list, though.
Deal with it.
I will not elaborate further, as I've done so many times already.
How many tiers do you think Thor will jump in Love and Thunder? Maybe one, and then Gore will be a tier above him, and then Jane Foster will be in.
I could see Thor being I could see Thor being an elite Avenger. I could see there being a statement where Thor is like finally surpassed Odin or something, or like just confirming that statement Odin made, even though it's wrong by the time of Ragnarok, at least in terms of scaling. But I could see elite Avenger at least. I don't think he's going to get to Celestial tier. That's kind of out of the, you know, that's like star level unless they really, really go in. But yeah, elite Avenger probably.
Eventually, they'll say somebody's stronger than, you know, full gauntlet Thanos, and then
Thor will punch him.
And then that'll be the day that a lot of power scalers will have their Spider-Man 2 leave their suit in the trash and just move on kind of moment.
Patrick Brett asked why Cap would beat Okoye but not Winter Soldier. Cap's more skilled. I think consistently, even later on, becomes far more skilled than he was during Winter Soldier. He's constantly getting better. You have to remember that when he came out of the ice, he really did not have much in the way of martial arts training during the war. But after being trained by Black Widow and S.H.I.E.L.D. for a couple of years, he becomes instantly like one of the best, most skilled fighters, and then he continues to improve from there. The only really counter argument to that is him losing to his like older self, but I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Andre, no, Thor will not be fat in Love and Thunder.
That's
Just look
true.
up set photos or look at Chris Hemsworth's Instagram, and you'll see that he has lost a lot of weight and put on even more muscle.
Yeah, he'll be ripped. He'll be massive. Yeah. What's the Electro scaling? Yeah, he just uses Iron Man's reactor, so he should have just baseline the same amount of power Iron Man can output with his strongest attacks. Yeah. I think.
There's a statement from the script that says he shoots Stark grade energy blasts, so pretty blatant.
Yeah, we just kind of have him sort of capped at Thor, just because Thor should be able to like absorb him. I would assume at least.
Electro is a little weird, I think, because it seems like physically, and it's kind of consistent with TASM 2, his like body is nowhere near as strong as his energy blasts. For instance, he can't just like pull against either Andrew or Toby's webs. You know, they do momentarily restrain him, and he has to like use the energy blast to eventually get out of it. And then everybody in that movie gets hit by an electro blast, and it doesn't really do all that much to anyone. Like Doc Ock gets hit by it, he's fine. Andrew gets hit by it, he's still walking around talking. Toby gets hit by it, still walking around talking. Tom gets hit by it at various points, and he's not like fried. But I think the reason why Electro, despite all that, is still versatile is he can pretty much just teleport and just keep blasting you. And there's not really anything anybody can do. Like, there's not a single one Spider-Man was able to get his arc reactor off of him. And there's even a part where Tom goes to jump at him. He teleports. He teleports just as Tom's jumping, so he doesn't get touched. And then Tom jumps at him from behind, and Electro somehow senses it and does that teleportation again and just hits him.
Yeah.
So nobody's really touching him when he's paying attention. So
true.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look. Let's do 5 more minutes of comments, and then I'm gonna close the stream. I think I've been streaming for 2 hours or something, 2.5 hours. Elias destroyed countless timelines as stated by Kang. He is multiversal, not universal. He destroyed each timeline one at a time, which would make him universal. If he did all of them simultaneously, then yes. But destroying one timeline at a time is not multiversal. It's weird that Kang MCU version is above everyone. We're basing this on power because so far, we're not basing it on power. We're basing it on who would win. If it was based on power, it'd be a significantly different tier list, I think. Well, not too significant, but definitely would be different. Kang controls Alioth, and Alioth can one-shot universes. He also has he knows everything, past, present, future. At least in the vacuum of the MCU, and the only reason he died is because he allowed it to happen.
He also has a very advanced those Tem pads or whatever. He has a very advanced one and can react to Loki and Sylvie and just sort of teleport around. So
yeah,
that's something else that I don't think people bring up. That's in his standard equipment.
Loki has no feats compared to Mjolnir Cap. No comment. We've addressed this 50 times already, so just to watch the original video, yeah, we explain it in detail. So we'll be live for 4 more minutes. If you guys want to leave comments down below, we'll be responding to those, and then we're gonna get the heck out of here. But yeah,
Yes, sir.
I think we did a pretty good job explaining our reasoning. And again, people in chat were asking questions as well, so a little more in-depth than what we were initially planning on. But it worked out.